Welcome, everyone, to another episode of the Lore Pod Podcast. I'm your host, Dakota Morgan, coming to you from Phoenix, Arizona, with all the extra behind-the-scenes nerdy storylines, character bios, and much, much more from all over pop culture that you need to know. Here today, we're going to be diving into Transformers, and we've talked about Transformers here on the channel before. Well, on the podcast here before, but here's the difference. Today, we're going to be talking about the Bayverse Transformers. I know that is a little bit touchy subject for us Transformers fans like myself, but we're going to be talking specifically about the movie tie-in comics. I mean, you click the bio, you know what the fuck I'm talking about. We're going to be talking about Arcee in the Bayverse movies. Now, a little backstory though first. She had concept art and even a toy design for her in a really dope motorcycle, by the way. And I actually had the toy back when I was a kid. It was my sister's, but I kind of stole it. And she was going to be in it, but due to supposedly the size comparisons of her only being 9 feet tall to the Autobots, storyline issues and such like that as well, she was later scrapped and replaced with Ironhide. Give or take, there's some good things and bad things about that, but I did love Ironhide in the movie. So with those toys and the artwork that they had for her, being a purple bike and a really cool Cybertron and motorcycle mode, said at least, she was later though put into Transformers 2 in the Revenge of the Fallen movie, where she didn't have legs, but she was actually 3 bodies of pink, purple, and light blue. But they didn't have legs, like I said, and they were replaced with wheels, and they were kind of skinny and such too. We saw them working with the Nest team, the human and Autobot military alliance there, and hunting down Decepticons. We do know for a fact, though, that during the Battle of Egypt at the end of that movie, Arcee and her sisters, Chromia and Elita 1, were killed in the battle. But that being said, how did Arcee end up like that? What happened exactly to her? Well, there's some backstory here, because in Transformers in the comic book tie-in series for the second movie, called the Tales of the Fallen, which I have a few of those single issues, recommend going to your local comic book store, picking them up in the back issue bins. So fucking worth it. Like, they're great as hell. They are just awesome. In issue number 6 is all about Arcee, her backstory on Cybertron and such as well. A little backstory context. One day we'll do an episode on those comics, but those comics, a little brief explanation. Again, they take there's prequel ones that take place in between the first and second movie, and hell, they even made one on the Bumblebee movie as well as a little like sequel to it. Those comic books offered some looks at characters and what happened in between the movies, able to bring in some of the toy design figures of characters that were out there that didn't get put in the movie and put them into the comic books, making them kind of canon. There was also a lot of them where you got to see the Bayverse Transformers in their Cybertronian modes, which they looked awesome in those protoform modes. Like, they look Optimus, Ratchet, all of them. Even characters like Jazz, and we even saw Prowl and such like that in there as well. Like, they all looked awesome. I specifically love Starscream's design. Chef's kiss. So we actually were able to see like the Optimus and Megatron backstory go around and all the stuff like that, and with the Fallen and things. I don't want to dive too much into that though, because again, we might be doing a podcast on that later. Let me know on social media and have reviews and and everyone else you can comment. Let me know, would you be interested in hearing about those storylines? Because boy, oh boy, the one with Wreckage and Ness and the fall of Sector 7, another chef's kiss. By the way, the artwork done for this was beautiful. I cannot remember the name right now of the artist who did these books, but beautiful artwork. I should have known. Shout out to you, buddy. So, diving into the Tales of the Fallen, issue number 6, the backstory of Arcee and what happened to her, we're going to start with her and that concept art design. 2-legged, kind of a hair flapped, almost kind of like a comb-over hair-esque design there with a metal part given to her. And she still has a bike, a Cybertronian bike form. She's also on the smaller side as well, as she is in normal designs, except G1 movie. Now, we're going to be saying that Arcee was stationed on Mars in the beginning of the story. That's all right, because if you remember right, Mars was also a base of operations for Decepticons, and Autobots even ran into the Mars rover, killing that. And there was a whole few battles that actually did happen on there before the events of the first film. So Arcee was stationed on Mars, leading an Autobot assault. You even had members of the Autobots, members like Cliff Jumper, Red Bumblebee, was on there. And a lot of these were still designs from toys that were made to be Cybertronian versions of them instead. Again, shout out to the artist for being able to come up with those designs. They were leading a strike on the Decepticon ship Nemesis, which we did see in that second film, which was crash landed, right? Well, we'll talk about that later. That is a different story. So their plan was to go on there to lead it on the strike team, take out that ship, help out the Autobot forces on Earth. They were able to take out multiple Decepticons before Thundercracker arrived. If you don't know, Thundercracker is basically a blue Starscream. But he was still in his Cybertronian form. He's blue, gold, and silver. And I do love Thundercracker's coloration designs. He was in the Cybertronian evil-looking form. And he was also a flying jet like Starscream is what I mean by that. He killed Slime Sheet and wounded Cliff Jumper in the beginning assault here and helped force the tide to the Decepticons. And a few other bots were also killed during this attack. Cliff Jumper, or Thundercracker, just came in and said, Not in my town. So Arcee, though, remembered a battle at Edgar Pass, one of the old pack cities there on Cybertron, and leapt into action instead of staying on the side. Both her and Cliff Jumper were charging forward in this. Starscream then arrived, though, and actually killed Autobot Smokescreen and Air Raid. Badly injured Cliff Jumper. So the fact is, we think he's probably dead. His lights are off and everything. So he's probably gone and dead. Starscream came in from Earth, actually, because he was still in his F-22 form. So Starscream arrived and said, fuck y'all, and just went and blasted him away. During this time, though, since they did win, Starscream took Thundercracker and the rest of the crew onto the ship Nemesis, and the ship took off to a space bridge where they wanted to go back to Cybertron to the city of Trypticon. Little did they know, though, Arcee, who was just kicked to the side by Starscream, who just went yeet like that. It really is in the comic panel. He just went yeet like it's a fucking soccer or football from our Europe fans, and it was wild. So with that in mind, they're like, he was back. They thought he probably thought he just killed her, and like, look at this weakling bop. And then she actually snuck onto the ship, though, as it went to Cybertron. During this time, though, when she actually snuck off the ship, she actually snuck into an Autobot facility where she met Crosshairs and Clocker. And they actually invited her to partake in an attack on the Decepticons in the local town of Trypticon. They moved in and scouted ahead. Arcee, being a great sniper that she is, moved into a temple area in the city and were able to see Starscream and a few of the Decepticons conducting experiments. It looked like they were they had a replica Allspark. And with that replica Allspark, they had Autobots tied up all around it, right? And their goal was to possibly, like, create a new Allspark because they lost it. Starscream probably came back and was like, yo, Megatron's fucking dead. I lost the recon force here, and the Allspark is destroyed. Like, we gotta fucking figure this out. Like, I'm leader now. We're doing this. So what they actually did is they drained the life force of all these Autobots that were all put all around the cube into an energy kind of machine there. And it looked like they were going to possibly try to fuse the Allspark to it. The plan, though, for the attack was to actually have a battle further away start to take place, an attack to help distract everybody. And it did work. A few of the forces did leave, and while then another strike team, including Arcee, did strike the research center in there. I should make it clear, though, one of her sisters, her actual sister of Elita 1, was on that Allspark, and she did have to watch helplessly as they all died. That's going to motivate me to really take on some Decepticon punks. Now, during this attack, though, Dreadwing, another one of the Seekers, but one of the drones, actually, is commander of the drone armies, and in this continuity, the drones are actually going to be like cars and jets and things for Decepticons, but they have like one single eye. There's a cool like tiger stripe camo jet version of the fucker too. It's awesome in the toy form. God, I need to collect more of those movie toys again. I got a few in my office right now, but besides the point, Dreadwing had decided to use some of his other drone forces and say screw y'all and stage the coup against Starscream, probably because they're wondering what happened to Megatron, and like, you failed, Starscream. So using the sniper rifle, she took advantage of the situation, and Arcee did take a hit at the generator holding the energy and the sparks of those Autobot forces, dedicating the shot to Elita 1. Now, during this attack, though, there was also able to bring down one of the Decepticon ships onto the city, therefore taking out a whole lot of the drone army for the Decepticons there, wiping a fucking ton of them out. Now, Arcee and others surviving Autobots do leave in their own single ship, and as they try to take off, Thundercracker, in his Cybertronian jet form, flies up there and is like, no, and just shoots him down, and they crash. Now, they all die except Arcee, because Arcee's luck is horrible in this point, and it gets fucking worse. And with this point, she went in, and Thundercracker landed and was like, hey, you, and then knocked her out unconscious. And when she awoke to screams because she awoke in her eyes and saw her body in pieces and dissected and such like that too. Like, it was insane. And she looked at, and she was able to find out she was in a lab with a Decepticon field medic called Flatline. Of course, Flatline, because, you know, why not? Because that's the name I wanted my medic to be. What's your name, Decepticon medic? Oh, my name is Flatline. How are you doing? I'm going to save your life. Are you, though? Will you really? Are you sure? I don't think you will. You have that name. That's not a good name. I don't know why I sound like Megatron here, but it sounds like old Megatron. All right, well, all right, besides that point, voice acting me is kicking in. So as they leave in a ship, actually, Thundercracker, they realize they're in the lab. This lab is on a ship. And so Thundercracker actually comes in there as well, because they're actually able to find out that Decepticon Field Medic was trying to transfer her spark into a protoform, which is kind of like a smaller, skinnier, not much developed machinery on it version of Cybertron. Cybertronians, right? It's kind of like baby Cybertronians here. And these ones actually didn't have too much of legs at the moment, too. They were still developing and such, right? But it was the purple, pink, and light blue. Now, Flatline and Thundercracker begin to argue because Flatline is saying he can't do what his mission is, which is not something you want to tell your fucking Decepticon commander, right? Especially a giant-ass one like him. And says that, well, it doesn't. Her spark does not have enough power for all three bodies. And then they begin to leave. Now, Arcee does actually see Skids and Mudflap, the green and orange bot, it's kind of stereotypical bots, that you did see in Revenge of the Fallen. But they look like they do that in the movie as well, currently at this point. Not in, of course, car form or anything, but in the forms you see later on with the green and the orange. Don't ask too many questions, don't pull on that thread. But with that being the case, Skids and Mudflap look at her and she looks at them, and both of them are agreeing that, hey, you don't look right and we don't look right. And in essence, her probably immediate thought was, no shit. Because Arcee and these three bodies, by the way, are hanging in the middle of this fucking laboratory at the moment with the cages all around and dissection. She's literally able to see her old body in front of her. Like, this girl, man, this girl. She's been through so much. Flatline returns and says her spark is needed. This is where we get our exposition. Flatline explains that her spark is needed for the experiment for development of new protoforms for new Decepticon soldiers because they're running out of soldiers now and they're having to rely on drones. Which makes sense because eventually going to run out of fucking bots. And that kind of ties into, like, the problem that they were trying to develop with the hatchlings and the protoforms in Revenge of the Fallen, which is why they needed that energy source as well. So Thundercracker arrives in the lab after Flatline goes, most of your body was actually damaged before the dissection. No, your old body. And most of that was done by Thundercracker, who came in and was like, yes, it was. And I went a little bit too far in our battle, though. And actually, you gave me a scar. And they actually do show that his neck kind of like tubing and stuff like that. It's kind of is gray, but there's some like purple material on it and shit. And it's actually a scar tissue. Like, that much only a scar tissue. It's kind of fucking cool. And he almost did get her before, but he actually let himself get careless and whatnot as well during their first battle. And then Flatline gives more exposition of, well, he tried to rewire Skids and Mudflaps as processors, but it was a failure. Says he doesn't give a shit, though, about that because, well, he is on the verge of a breakthrough with Arcee. Arcee then blacks out, but then when she does awaken again, she is on all three of those bodies and simultaneously able to control those bodies with all of her brain, which... Jesus. Flatline then leaves probably to give Thundercracker the good news that we did succeed. And to get also more bodies as well, because maybe he can use her to control more bodies, which, man, they really decided and push it. Fuck it. We got 3, but maybe let's do a 4th, huh? Shall we? As he leaves, she uses one of those new bodies and actually shoots the energy cage of Skid and Mudflap, freeing those two. Now, their brains are still a little bit like hot wired. They're still a little bit fucked, basically. And they actually couldn't figure out how to break her free, but eventually they do. It takes a little bit longer time, and Arcee's like freaking out about like, come on, press the damn button. They're like, what do we do? And they actually are able to figure it out. And we're able to eventually break her out. Flatline does try to subdue them all, though, but using pieces of her old body and throwing them at her and attacking him, we're able to push him back, making him retreat. He's not exactly the most bravest Decepticon. Now, Skids and Mudflap do come to an argument, though, of course, but then agree to help. And then with that, they do is say that, well, the Decepticons actually did take their ship. And they're like, ship? So then the new goal, get Skids and Mudflap's ship and get the hell out of this other big area that they're in. Basically like ship/base sort of thing. So as they are making their way to the ship, though, they all do leave, and Arcee is leading the charge, all 3 of her bodies. Flatline does get some reinforcements, though, because he arrives with some of the drone forces, and says that, well, he can fix her, and she just needs to calm down, and he can fix all of this. Now, in the process, though, she did name Chromia and Elita 1, those 2 other bodies, and those are, of course, in honor of her dead sisters. Kind of weird, but whatever. And she leaves behind the Elita 1 and Chromia bodies to fight them and take them on, while Arcee leads Skid and Mudflap away, taking the main body. She's like, hey, you clones, basically. Fuck off. Thundercracker arrives, probably due to the commotion, and takes down the other 2, but doesn't quite kill him yet. Arcee comes back to arrive to help those bodies, of course, and Thundercracker says it didn't go well in the last battle, basically taunting her, saying, it didn't go well for you last time. And he's looking at these, like, 3 protoforms, and then also, like, 2, like, Skids and Mudflap, and like, I can take you on. But actually, those protoforms are small and devious and quick, and they give him a run for the money, actually, and almost kill him. But he was able to escape before getting killed. He was like, fuck this, and took off. Now, Flatline during all this said, peace, y'all, and took off. He was gone probably when the battle did start, and after the drones that he brought for reinforcements probably were killed as well. Like, I'm done. But he did leave some bombs behind at the base, and tried. It was like, nah, and then actually like rigged it to explode, leaving behind all the evidence and such like that. Of course, they were able to escape. So all 3 of Arcee's bodies were able to escape with Skids and Mudflap to their ship, and Arcee has decided within herself, though, that she didn't want to live a revenge life and go go after Thundercracker and Flatline, but actually decided to go put her skills to use and take these Autobots and go meet up with the rest of the forces on Earth and help out in the war effort. Thus leading us to her meeting up with other Autobots and arriving on the Xanthium ship that we find out in the third one, in the third Dark of the Moon movie. That ship did lead the second wave of Autobots from that we see in off-screen and on-screen as well. Again, another reason to read the comics. You see more Autobot teams arrive. Pretty cool shit. And that is Arcee's comic book backstory there for the movies and her backstory in the Michael Bay movies in general as well. Did you enjoy this? I did as well. Hopefully you did as well. And be sure to comment down below wherever you're listening/watching this. What'd you think? Do you want more of these kind of storylines here talking about, Transformer comic book lines? Because boy, IDW and all that shit too. Skybound just recently wrapped up their main storyline of 24 issues. I kind of want to review it. Let me know, everybody. Be sure to follow me on social media. I'm on Twitch, CodaRex97, Instagram at Dakota_Morgan97, and X at DakotaMorgan3. Be sure to check me out there, everybody. And be sure to subscribe to the LorePod podcast wherever you're listening to this for new episodes every week of storylines, characters, and more. I have been your host, Dakota Morgan, coming at you with some Transformers lore. And remember, everybody, stay creative.